Betrayed. That's how I'm feeling right now. You see, last year, my good friends and colleagues, Rick and Kasha Ferguson, did a review for Trend Micro on Unfriended: The Dark Web. It's a movie about the dark web that had some interesting technical perspectives, as anytime technology hits Hollywood. So the team sent out an email and said, hey, who wants to do the next movie review? And I was like, watch movies for work? Cool, I'm in. Then they told me what movie I needed to see. The new Child's Play. The 2019 version. Because apparently watching Chucky destroy and kill everybody in his path in years past wasn't good enough. We need to reboot it yet again. This time it's starring Aubrey Plaza and Mark Hamill as the voice of Chucky. And there's an IoT slant. Chucky's going crazy in the smart home. But why do I feel betrayed? Aren't you going to watch a movie for work? Everybody's telling me. Yeah, but it's a horror movie. I do not do horror movies. But in the spirit of this review, I booked myself a ticket in the latest show I could get. Currently, I'm the only person booked in the theater. I will grab some snacks, and I will sit through Child's Play. Still, the day of the review, it's coming up on 1 o'clock Eastern. I've reconsidered my position. No, I'm still going to the movie, but I don't handle horror films well at all. I've seen a few in the theaters. Of course, I watched the first Child's Play when I was a kid. My buddy and I stayed up late and watched it on HBO. We're terrified out of our minds. I don't do well with these movies, so I think as a strategy, I'm going to go for a nap. I'm going to sleep now because I don't think I'm going to be sleeping much afterwards because, again, I don't do horror movies well. Okay, I'm at the theater. It's getting a little bit dark out. It's okay. I had my nap. I'm ready. I can handle not going to sleep right away afterwards. I also developed a few additional coping strategies. If at any point anyone needs assistance and we need to go off and get help, I'm going to make sure to go alone because leaving the most amount of people to deal with the problem on site is the smartest, and nothing is ever going to happen to me if I wander off alone. Second of all, if I hear anything weird, or there's sort of a flash of light or a scary sound off to the side, it's probably nothing, so I can check that out on my own safely. I think these two strategies are really going to pay off. I'm going to jump in, get some snacks, and watch this movie, and I'll be back with you with my thoughts and reactions and mini review after. Okay, I just got out of the movie, and I gotta say, it was a lot better than I expected. I apologize for my earlier air quotes around starring when I mentioned Mark Hamill and Aubrey Plaza. Mark Hamill was a fantastic choice for the voice of Chucky. Don't think Luke Skywalker, think more of his appearance as Trickster in the DC TV show The Flash recently. Aubrey Plaza was also fantastic in her role. I don't want to give away too much, but, somewhat expected. This is not a movie with a ton of character development. This is not a movie with even a ton of plot, but it was really interesting. It ended up sort of the most interesting thing, or why it was interesting to me, was that it's really signifying a shift when a major horror movie in a classic franchise like Child's Play has taken what used to be sort of this demonic possession of this doll and has switched the main antagonist to be Cyber, the runaway AI that is impacting everything. And there's a lot of issues that it actually kind of pops up that I want to talk about because I think that's really interesting. But overall, the movie review, if you go in knowing that there's going to be way too much gore and some unnecessary violence, but some really interesting approach to this sort of suspense and thriller, with your standard spooky music and lots of jump cuts, it was good. It wasn't the standard, like, oh, what are they doing? Why are you doing that all the time? So I was pleasantly surprised. Not freaked out, which was a good thing. So that's my initial reaction. I'm going to sit on this for a little bit and give you a little more detailed thoughts of why I think it's really interesting. Okay, so minor spoilers ahead. The movie was actually surprisingly a lot better than I thought it was going to be. Now, granted, my expectations weren't very high, and it still had the usual caveats, but what was really interesting was having a digital bad guy, or at least a digitally infused bad guy in the real world. You see, Chucky is an artificially intelligent doll in this case. He's a toy sold to children, and of course, an insider threat manipulates Chucky in the beginning, and now he is, all the safeguards are off, and he runs rampant. And at first I was sitting there thinking, wait a minute, this was supposed to be an IoT story, and it's turning into an AI one. If you feed bad data and biased data into an AI model, you're going to get out biased and bad results. I thought, well, this is going to be interesting. This is going in a completely different direction. But then the IoT stuff started coming in, and lateral movement started coming in, because you see, Chucky is made by a giant corporation that makes everything else in the smart home. And one of the biggest selling points for Chucky is the fact that your doll can connect to the rest of your smart home. And of course it does this with no authentication, with no sort of configuration, other than he just instantly discovers it after he gets an update from the cloud with the latest definitions and parameters for connecting to things. And this comes into play into the plot later on, of course. But while I was sitting there, I was thinking, besides the fact that obviously we don't have enough computing power in a small enough package, we don't have enough actual power to power something like a truly artificial intelligent doll, a lot of the stuff was not crazy. Yes, using, suspending disbelief on some core things, especially when it starts to get really gruesome. The idea that it would be easy enough for somebody within the supply chain to make some key manipulations because they have elevated privilege, and to adjust an AI model is not crazy. Seeing that you feed bad data into a model and you get unexpected and chaotic results is not out of the ordinary in today's technology. And then seeing that once you have a trusted endpoint compromised, that the rest of the network goes very, very quickly with almost no resistance, is today's reality. So a lot of the basic premise was actually plausible. And I mean, I say plausible within the context of understanding that this is really about a murderous, artificially intelligent robot doll. So obviously not completely there, but the fact that the plot, that the key elements of the bad guy, of Chucky, were drawn from something that's plausible today in a completely different implementation, but somewhat plausible. So I really had three main takeaways from this movie as sort of lessons in cybersecurity and privacy today. The first is that AI and machine learning, if you feed it bad data, you're going to get bad results out. Sometimes comically bad, sometimes chaotically bad. But we've seen that in the real world, where crime and judiciary models fed racially biased data continue to generate racially biased results. We've seen similarities in facial recognition. Training data primarily trained on white faces has a really difficult time properly identifying people of color. There are all of these examples of bad and biased data in and bad and biased data or results out. The second thing that really was a key takeaway was when you have fewer and fewer providers of all of this technology, there's an increase in usability. So yeah, all this stuff works together and it's relatively seamless, and that's a good thing for the users, but it raises really significant privacy concerns. It also raises significant security concerns because of that homogeneous environment. And then the third thing was really that lateral movement is a real thing. Once you have a trusted endpoint or a trusted system be compromised, you are going to see more and more compromise easier and easier throughout the network. It just moves like wildfire because they are attacking from a point of trust. It just takes one compromised piece for all the dominoes to fall down. So you need defense in depth, and you need visibility across all of these endpoints so that you can try to do containment. It's no longer the hard shell with the soft GUI center. You need everything defended on its own with strong authentication and strong visibility and the ability to do detection and response across all of it. So who knew you'd get those kind of cybersecurity takeaways from a revamped reboot of an absolute classic horror movie? Who knew I would enjoy it a lot more than I thought I was going to? Would I go back and see it again? No. Would I have done this if it wasn't for this work project? Probably not. But overall, I did have a really good time and enjoyed myself. And I thought it was, that key takeaway, those three key points. But the big one for me was sort of, we're at the point now where people have legitimate concerns around our interaction interactions with our technology, so much so that it's now the sort of villain du jour in these types of movies. And I thought that was pretty cool. Thanks for tuning in. I'm sure we're going to do a lot more of these kind of reviews as we get movies that are more and more focused on technology. Hope you enjoyed us. Let us know down in the comments below. And as always, on social media, you can get me at MarkNCA or on the main Trend Micro handle at Trend Micro. We'll talk to you soon.